Good day, class. I am uploading this video for the development of a more in-depth understanding of our topic, identifying common discourse markers. These are our key learnings. We will be discussing the definition of discourse markers in speech and writing, different categories of common discourse markers, replacing discourse markers, and linking paragraphs with discourse markers. So sit back, relax, and make sure you're taking notes because we will be having a short seat work on our next meeting. So what exactly is a discourse marker? Discourse markers are also known as linking words or linking phrases or sentence connectors. They may be described as the glue that binds together a piece of writing, making the different parts of the text stick together. They also exist in the three macro skills: reading, writing, and speaking. Examples of discourse markers used in speech are, as I was saying, which means to bring the conversation back to a former point; anyway, which means to move on to another point or to close the conversation; and here's the thing, which means to raise an example. On the other hand, examples of discourse markers used in speech are, on the other hand, which is to move to an opposing viewpoint; in the case of, which means to introduce an example; and in addition to, which is to raise a new point or example. All of the discourse markers I've stated, as well as the other discourse markers, can be used in all of the three macro skills. Not one is limited to just being used in reading, writing, or speaking. There are different categories of discourse markers. Different discourse markers belong to different categories. These different categories have different ideas or purposes. We will be going over 6 different categories of common discourse markers, namely addition, contrast, concession, cause, condition, and result. Addition. The role of discourse markers under this category is to add something. Examples of discourse markers under this category are moreover, additionally, in addition, further, furthermore, also, and besides. Contrast. Discourse markers under the category contrast is to make a contrast between two separate things, ideas, people, and the like. Examples of discourse markers under this category are however, on the other hand, in contrast, and yet. Concession. The role of discourse markers under this category is to make an unexpected contrast. Examples of discourse markers under this category are although, even though, despite the fact that, in spite of the fact that, and regardless of the fact that. Cause. Discourse markers under this category are used to say why something is the case. Examples of discourse markers under this category are because, since, as, and so far as. Condition. The role of discourse markers under this category is to express a condition. Examples of discourse markers under this category are if, in the event of, as long as, so long as, provided that, assuming that, given that. Lastly, result. Discourse markers under this category are used to state a result or effect. Examples of discourse markers under this category are therefore, consequently, in consequence, as a result, accordingly, hence, thus, for this reason, and because of this. In your writing, you will want to spend some time ensuring that your work has a sense of variety. In order to do this, you may use the following. Use conjunctions and omit discourse markers if necessary. A conjunction is used to join two ideas together into a complex sentence. Unlike discourse markers such as however, a conjunction cannot be used at the beginning of a sentence and must come at the midpoint, at the end of one clause, and the beginning of another. It is usually possible to rephrase a pair of sentences that use a sentence connector by using a conjunction instead. Knowing when to omit the discourse marker is a subtle aspect of language use and comes with a more practice and wider reading. Too many discourse markers will make the writing look pedantic, heavy, and over-pompous. Remember, you are ideally seeking a light with a flowing style, not a heavy or forced one. Just like words, phrases, and sentences, a new paragraph must be linked in some way with the previous one. We will be going over the three basic types of paragraph-paragraph relationships, namely reinforcement of ideas, contrast of ideas, and concession, whose roles are just the same as when connecting words, phrases, and sentences. Discourse markers for reinforcement are used to reinforce or support the idea in the first paragraph. Examples displaying reinforcement are in the sentences. A further example of this phenomenon can be seen in Foucault's work, or Jones further demonstrates this point in his most recent research. Discourse markers for contrast are used to contradict the idea in the first paragraph. Examples displaying contrast are in the sentences. Jones, meanwhile, or on the other hand, expresses this notion as self-defense. Or, this argument is not, however, accepted by all critics. For instance, Smith holds that. Discourse markers for concession are used to make acknowledgments. Examples displaying concession are in the sentences. Although the ideas of Jones are interesting and useful, they do not take account of the growing problems of identity theft. Or, while Roberts emphasizes the importance of Foucault's notion of the panoptic, on the opposite view is held by other commentators,